Alright folks, so we have a couple new Star Wars reveals to take a look at here, new sets that are coming out here on August 1st. Now I'm just going to come right out and say it, these two sets that we're looking at in this video, in my personal opinion, are way too overpriced. So this video may come across as kind of a rant, just talking about LEGO prices, specifically LEGO Star Wars prices, but before we even talk about the value of these sets, I would really just kind of like to take a look at the sets without considering the price tag. So this first set right here is the Desert Skiff and Sarlac pit. This is of course from that iconic scene from Return of the Jedi, episode 6 of Star Wars. Some people think of it as the Boba Fett death scene until he came back to life, of course, but in this set we get a build of the Sarlac pit. We also get that build of the Desert Skiff. We also get Boba Fett minifigure, Luke Skywalker, Lando in his little bounty hunter disguise, Chewbacca, Han Solo, and then an exclusive 25 years minifigure, and I always say his name wrong, I think it's Nine Nub or something like that, but this is the first time we're getting this figure, and it's super awesome because I just remember seeing this figure in the Star Wars video game, the Lego one, and we never had a Lego version, and now we do, so this guy is going to be super sought after. But first impressions here, I think everything looks mostly good. The Sarlac pit looks good, but I think that they went a little too crazy with the terrain. They definitely didn't need this much buildup of sand around it. The Desert Skiff, in my opinion, looks kind of short and stubby. I may just be remembering what the skiff itself looks like a little bit wrong, but you of course get that little plank that extends out, so that's awesome. They captured the scene here really well, I would think. Let's look at some other angles here. It looks like the tentacles and such can be articulated, and I believe there's actually a built-in feature that we'll take a look at here in just a second. It's unfortunate that the clear plates that you get here can't display this thing far enough above the actual Sarlac pit, kind of like how they have it right here, because that would be a really cool display point to kind of do with this thing. It looks like as well the little banisters, the railings on the side can kind of move out of the way. You get the steering console right there. I think it looks good, but it's small, you know, it's not the biggest thing ever, and it's certainly not to scale compared to what the actual thing looks like in the movie. And here's that feature I was talking about. It looks like you can just move the tentacles individually with these little knobs on the side. Here's a closer look at that exclusive figure. I think that molded head looks really awesome. It's a really great looking figure. And here's a look at the rest of the figures. It looks like, I believe that's the first time we're getting that helmet with all that dual molding on it and such. That helmet looks really fantastic. The other figures I believe we've gotten before though. Here's a look at the back of the box. Of course we have Boba Fett kind of posed in his death moment, I guess you could say. Lando falling off right there. It looks like this plank, you push a button and then it pops out the other side. I mean, everything else is pretty self-explanatory though. Nothing too crazy going on there. And this is, I mean, everything you get in the actual set, it's really not too crazy, everything you get. It's not that extensive of a set. Here's a better view of the top of the Sarlac pit, so you can see that they actually included some of those teeth throughout the inside, so that's really fantastic. Overall, though, I mean, it's about what I expected. Here's kind of a 360 view of the entire set, what you're getting here. Now that we're kind of at the end of looking at this thing, let's talk about value. This thing is $80 for 558 pieces. Now, compared to what we've got in the past, it's honestly not the worst price-to-part ratio of all time, but this is not an $80 set. I'm sorry, but it's really not an $80 set. I could maybe justify $60, maybe. Ideally, though, this thing should be $40 or $45. There's no reason it should be $80. That's just ridiculous. And most of the pieces are just going into sand that surrounds the Sarlac pit. The Desert Skiff itself is not that big. The Sarlac pit is extensive, but it really didn't need to be this extensive. There did not need to be this much buildup of terrain around it. So I think that there was a lot of kind of an excuse to build up part count so that they could sell this thing for just an absolutely absurd price. The next set we need to take a look at is Ahsoka Tano's Duel on Peridia. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I have not actually seen the Ahsoka show on Disney+, so I am not familiar with the context of this set, but I can tell you, what I see and what I think as a LEGO fan and a Star Wars fan of this actual thing. First impressions here, I think that it's an interesting display piece. It's a really unique set because I don't really think we've gotten a LEGO set like this before, where it's kind of just a plate with, I mean, there's really not that much differentiation in the build itself. This has got to be one of the plainest builds that LEGO has ever done for a set at this price point. Obviously, we got that set from the Obi-Wan show that was kind of a base plate, but at least you had some different terrain and some differentiation in accessories and such surrounding that. You really don't get much at all here. It's just a base with 4 pillars, and that's it. What you're paying for here is really the minifigures. So we can see here we get a lot of figures, and I believe that's Admiral Thrawn. I do not know her name. That's of course Ahsoka, and I don't know his name either. And then you just get a basic stormtrooper. So that's really awesome. I think the figures are obviously the highlight here. All 5 of the figures I think look really great. The build is kind of funny to me, if I'm being honest. It's just ridiculous, and it does appear you do have these little gears on the side that can turn the various cylinders on this thing to make it seem as if the figures are fighting, and I believe that's probably the only feature. Oh, and you can launch. You have a little catapult, so there's that. And that's just about it. Here's a better look at the figures, though, if you want to pause the video and take a look here. I mean, the figures look good. They do look really good. I like that little lightsaber blade right there. And Ahsoka is looking better than ever, in my opinion. But the build is just the most plain and bland thing of all time. I mean, it's just so uninteresting. It might be accurate, but for what you get here, I mean, this is the base right here. This is the entirety of what you get. So it's such a unique and bizarre set. I'm not even sure if it's worth looking at a 360 view, but we will anyway. This is what it looks like from the back. Pretty much exactly what you would expect when we're looking at value for this thing. $55 for 382 pieces. This thing is obviously way too overpriced. I think $40 would be the max that you should charge for this thing. What you're paying for here is just 5 figures, because the base itself, the build itself, is probably the most, useless thing of all time. It's a nice little display piece, but it's really, it's so uninteresting in my opinion. Let me know though in the comments below what you think of these 2 sets. Do you like them? Do you plan on buying them? Do you agree that they are overpriced? If you liked my analysis here, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to leave a like, be sure to subscribe as well. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.